Okay. So I was really excited about the article that talked about the education and how history books tend to gloss over immigration and they tend to highlight the negative aspects of immigration. And I was excited because I realized that this happens a lot um, in high school and in my public school education. I was always taught about immigration through the eyes of the white men who wrote about it. And so when I got here and people started saying, well, this also happened, I was pretty amazed because they left out so much in high school.
I know. I was really surprised too because I never knew any of that, and like they didn't even bother to teach it. It was like people immigrated at the end.
Yeah. And it was, and they would, I mean, they would talk about, um, okay, well, in the 20s, the Asians came over, and then in the 30s, they came over. You know, like they talked about the different ethnicities that came over at what times, but they never talked about how those.
They contributed or
exactly how they contributed. Like they were the
like they even talked about them. It was like, okay, and this year there was a law passed to ban this ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
And it would go into detail about why that was, but like,
right.
You know,
they just couldn't come over anymore, you know, and yet they're the ones that helped. Like it was Asian immigrants that helped build the transcontinental
railroad.
Yeah, so it's like without them, we wouldn't even have we wouldn't have had the railroad that made like industrialization, possible. So, but they don't talk about that. They just talk about, well, there was a lot, so we put a stop to it, and it's like, that's not fair, especially for people who are immigrant descent. You know, like you kind of start to feel, well, my family's been here for a long time, but I have no idea. You know, like
why they're here, how
Yeah.
they impacted
exactly.
things.
Like we just, I don't know. Like I always kind of felt like, so we were here and we just sat around and did nothing. That's great. You know, like we just drained resources from everyone else. I was like, that's really nice. But when it comes down to it, I mean, Hispanics, Asians, African Americans for a long time too, especially they were in wars, and you know they supported, like I said, growth and prosperity through the working class and that kind of thing.
Like like the way I see it, like reflecting back on what I was taught, either they came over and then they disappeared from the history books. They came over and they just sat there. They were victims, and the white man eventually saw the error of their ways, and everyone's happy and friends and holding hands and singing kumbaya. You know, just stuff like that.
Yeah, it wasn't realistic at all, and yet I mean, students everywhere in America live in this idealistic world, like because we're taught to. We don't know any better, and so how can people make an educated decision on immigration issues and laws
when they don't even know
exactly.
the real roots of the issues.
They don't. They have no idea really what's going on. And most people don't even know how excluded immigrants are from history. Like, I had no idea in my history class. I learned that President Roosevelt, he was glorified for uh, winning a battle. And it turns out that his regiment didn't even get there until the African American regiment had already finished winning most of it. I mean, they were almost done, triumphant, and then he kind of like rode in. It was like, aha, I win. And so everyone gave him the glory for that. And it wasn't fair because they worked for it just as much as he did, but they didn't get any glory.
They worked for it more than he did.
Yeah, true. Because he got there and they said he just kind of like, the battle was pretty much almost over. And so he just kind of picked off the little ones at the end. And I don't know. It just seems very unfair.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas is like one of the worst, according to the articles that I read for the immigration. Texas is one of the worst. We have like a really weak structured curriculum, so our teachers they don't really have like a strong backbone to their curriculum, so they can either gloss over a lot of stuff, or if they're good teachers, they can fill in the gaps and really enforce it. But a lot of teachers, they're, especially if they're new, I mean, they don't know, so they're just like, okay, so my curricula says this, so I'm just gonna be like, well, they were immigrants and they came. Moving on to World War One. I don't know. It's just like you seem to understand why so many people are so ignorant about it when our public school systems don't make a point to teach it. So how are they supposed to learn? And I mean, I think a lot of the people opposing immigration really are just not educated about like immigration and the immigrants themselves. They make it, one of the points they always say is that they're draining our resources.
They're like taking away jobs and everything, but like they're the ones taking up the jobs that no one else wants to do.
Exactly.
Among other things.
Yeah, and I totally agreed when we, when I read that one of the reasons in my political science class I read that one of the reasons why we have such a problem with immigration is because they made the rules stricter. So men from Mexico who used to be able to just come, work, make money, and then go home with their family, and like have that money to live on over there, they can't go back and forth. So they have to live in the US and the families living in Mexico. And so, like instead of being like a seasonal kind of migrant back and forth, and that like opens up jobs and like in the lower class, I mean levels of jobs, I guess. He's just there, and I mean, and then families try to get over and they're illegal because the rules are so strict, It makes it just makes it really, really hard for them to do it legally, and it only exacerbates, instead of making it harder on them to become legal, we should make it easier for them if that's the problem. If the problem is illegal immigration, then we shouldn't make it harder. You know what I'm saying? I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of confuse myself. But
I get it, yeah.
I don't know. And I'm so afraid that this country is going to become one of those xenophobic countries where we're like, foreigners, and we like close all the doors and like never talk to anyone again because everyone makes it sound like, well, he's Mexican, or he's not from here. He's not an American, so kick him out, and that doesn't seem like what the founding fathers had in mind, really. I don't know. I feel like that's not equal opportunity and liberty for all at all.
Liberty for everyone who's already American.
Exactly. And I was pretty amazed that they would do that. And like they say that Mexican women wait until they're about to give birth and then they'll like try to run across the border so they can have their baby here and so the baby can be American, which in reality statistics show that women who have the babies here, I think half of them have already lived here for 5 years, and like a quarter of them, I believe, they've lived here for at least a year.
Yeah.
So, and most of them come here to work, not to have babies. They come here to work, and then they kind of like fall in love, or they just keep working, and then they settle here and have a family. It's not, well, I'm gonna get pregnant and go to America. It's not like they're planning this. That people use these words too, like in political science we were learning about these key words that they use, like invasion. They're invading us as if there's some sort of, I don't know, like
alien race.
Yes, alien race, exactly. And
pew pew.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, they're not Martians, okay? They're human beings, and they're just trying to get equal opportunities. And statistics show also that most of them come here for economic reasons or to reunite with their family, not because
they want to be like, grr.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to America and I'm gonna take it over. I mean, it doesn't really work that way, you know, not in their minds. They don't see it as trying
I don't
to.
know. They're people. They're not like a different species.
Exactly.
You know.
But that's what they do. They dehumanize them in the media. They say that there are swarms of them coming over.
They're not locusts.
No, it's not a plague. You know but that's how it's portrayed, and so they use these words, and before you know it, people will have this really, really negative perspective of immigration, and they say that they want to take over, and I'm like, no, they don't. They just want to be able.
They just want lives. Like better lives for themselves and their families.
Exactly. They want to be able to go to a hospital and get medical attention, you know, and
like they want what everyone else wants.
Exactly. And I don't really see how putting up a wall between us and them is gonna really help. And even that idea of us and them, you know, like
it's them wall.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. We're pretty much all the same, and we're separated by like a river. Come on, it's not. I don't really see it as something that's so terrible that you have to fight over it. You know, I mean. And I don't think that most Mexicans even want to be Americans, you know, like
they just want to work.
Exactly. Like if they had the jobs and the opportunities in Mexico that they have here, they would stay in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't, you know, like if we had bombs going off here, they wouldn't come over here. The only reason it's the push and pull factor, you know, it's not because they're trying to invade us. It's just how the world is. Just like when you see two stores and you see that one has a sale and that one doesn't, so you go to the one with the sale, you know. But if it was the other way around, you go to the other one. I mean, it's not something that they're like, well, I'm gonna go take over the U.S. I'm gonna make them all Catholic. I'm gonna make them all eat beans. I mean, they're not trying to, like, I don't know, enforce their culture upon us or their religion or anything. It's just they just want better lives.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really bothers me that people paint them to be some sort of
stereotyping.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not fair. And but I really feel like a great majority of people just don't understand that. They're not able to sympathize, you know, to try to understand what it must be like in their shoes. I mean, I have family members who are like, well, I don't want them here, they're gonna take my job. And I'm like, they don't they're not trying to take your job. They want the jobs that are available.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's none in their country, so they come here, you know. I mean, if we didn't, well, we kind of do have unemployment, but if we, you know, really had like no jobs and people were trying to shoot us all the time, we'd go down there, you know. Like it's not like, what was it in that movie, Day After Tomorrow?
Oh.
And like all the world was like freezing, and
yeah.
they were crossing over the border to get Is that the movie? I don't know. I know there was
I don't
a movie
remember.
where they were like crossing over the border.
I haven't seen the entire movie.
Oh, well, I thought it was funny because everyone was trying to come this way, and now everyone's trying to go that way. And I was like, see, it's not about, well, I'm American, I'm gonna stay in America. It's like, that place over there is better. I'm gonna move there. My friend and I have often thought of moving to Canada, or maybe just Virginia, somewhere's out of Texas, because people are crazy sometimes. And my friend is worried about her future children's education. So, I mean, you know, it's not like I'm not going to move to Virginia so I can take over Virginia. Just want to go to a better place. Does it make sense? So people would believe that about another people. And I mean, in history, you see that it happens all the time. First, they didn't want the Chinese here. Oh wait, very first, who was it? The Irish?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was the Irish first. And then there was like, okay, they can come. They can stay. but no Chinese food. And they're like, okay. Okay, they're okay. Oh, now we don't want